Hey, everybody. Fascinating chat today in the world of marketing as we dive into an agentic AI platform that helps brands keep customers before they drift away, an incredibly challenging problem facing marketeers. Sandeep, how are you?
Evan, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. Great to talk to you today about this exciting topic and about Auxia.
Yes, indeed. And congratulations on your fundraising and growth at Auxia. Before that, maybe introduce yourself, your journey to Auxia, and what was the big idea, the big problem you're solving for marketeers?
Yeah. At a very high level, Auxia is an agentic journey orchestration platform. So what we do is we have the ability to kind of sit on top of the rich first-party data that most large enterprises have, but unfortunately not have the unlimited data scientists or data engineers to really use that data effectively. And then on top of the signals that we have from this data, have a suite of AI agents which work hand in hand with marketers and empower them to kind of ensure that you're able to deliver the right experience to each customer in a hyper-personalized manner throughout their journey on your product so that they are happy, satisfied customers who stick with you. And to your question on what prompted us to do this, I have been a marketer for over a decade. I spent over a decade at Google in a variety of marketing roles. Used to lead small business marketing for Google, and then was CMO of Google India for a few years, and moved to the US to lead all of our platform marketing. That's Android, Chrome OS, and our foray into payments. And it was very clear to us that we are about to enter this decade of transformation driven by AI, and it will definitely change how the best marketers and best growth leaders leverage AI to drive growth on their products.
Fantastic. Well, what a journey. And in plain English, what does an agentic AI marketing platform do beyond the buzzwords? What does it mean in practically speaking, maybe on a day-to-day even basis?
Yes, I think that's a very, very valid question, especially nowadays where there's so much hype, and very often it's very difficult to separate hype from reality. And in a very simplistic manner, the big challenge that we are solving for is that most enterprises, most companies now sit on a treasure trove of first-party data. I've spoken to many CMOs. I think there have been a lot of published studies on this. Most large enterprises use less than 30 to 40% of all of the data that they have effectively.
Wow.
And what we do is, number one, we enable marketers to kind of leverage and harness the power of that data. And where the agentic aspect of it comes in is that we then have, once we have this rich signal repository that we create out of this data, the ability for our agents to autonomously decide what is the right experience that you show to a customer at any point in time in their experience with your product, on your website, on your app, all through all of your marketing channels, to determine what is the right action, right creative that you need to promote at the right time to get them to the objective function. So that is the foundational aspect of our product. There are, of course, a few more agents that we build on top of it, which I'm happy to kind of talk about.
Oh, yeah, and we'll dive in. So the marketing tech landscape is incredibly complex and diverse. You've seen these martech landscape pictures with thousands of companies, and even a little small business like mine. I have a dozen tools in my stack. How do you fit into, an enterprise's or, any business marketing stack today?
So I think it's important that we take a step back because you raise a very valid point, and I have experienced this as a marketer, as a CMO. And when I talk to other marketing leaders, whether it's in a small business or in a large business, the challenges still remain the same. I do think that there has been a proliferation of point solutions, and very often marketers today are system integrators and not spending enough time doing the core of what they do, which is marketing. So I think that is a real concern. What this current way of AI really enables you to do is what I call role compression. And you're seeing this happening in multiple domains. So our belief is that in the coming years, you would move from the current state where you have marketers using point solutions to do discrete manual tasks, right? And rules-based tasks. Like, I'll give a simple example. Let's say you're responsible for doing a life cycle campaign and in a bank, right? So you have a set of marketers who work with a set of people to determine what are the rules. Like, Evan has come in today. He's a new user. What is the email I give him? 3 days later, what is the next thing? And it's all based on rules, right? And what we believe is that going forward, with agentic solutions, you see two things happening. Number one, as what I said, role compression. A marketer is able to do so much more because and the work that they do is so much more strategic. And the reason for that is that we believe in the future, the marketer will be able to work with a suite of agents, and these agents will replicate a lot of the manual tasks and the tasks which they currently do not have support for.
Brilliant insight. And you talk a lot about something called the reacquisition treadmill. Sounds intriguing, a great phrase. I'm not sure if you coined that, but how did that idea come about, and what does it mean practically speaking?
Yeah. So if you think about where the innovation has been in marketing in the last, I would say, 2 decades, I would say the biggest innovation has been in programmatic ads, right? So wherein as a marketer, you can assign a budget and you can pretty much say, hey, for this budget, Google Meta, bring me the traffic that I need to my website, to my product. That is an amazing innovation. That is what helped Google and Meta become what they are. But what happens after that is equally, if not more important. What I mean by the reacquisition treadmill is that in many businesses that I speak to, unfortunately, even after you have acquired a customer, a prospect, even after they have even, like, let's say a typical retailer, even after they have made a transaction with you, bought a product from you, very often, because you have not cultivated a relationship with them, a deep relationship with them, you have to actually go back now and then spend money on ads again to reacquire the same user, which I think in many ways is a failure of marketing.
Yeah, really, really well said.
And that is what we aim to also solve. Is like, once you have a relationship with the marketer, how can you move beyond it being transactional? How do you kind of really understand that customer so that Evan doesn't get spammed with like 3 more emails with promotions and products he doesn't want, but the brand has a deep understanding of you because you've bought from them, you've interacted with them, and they are able to craft a message at the right time if there is a need to share with Evan. And I'm pretty sure Evan will appreciate that message. He would have a much more deeper connection with that brand.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, customer acquisition gets all the limelight. And of course, it's very sexy to show new customers, new wins, new logos. Why do you think retention gets less attention? And why is it sort of the redheaded stepchild of marketing?
It goes back to what I said, right? Like, it's not that acquisition. Google and Meta, wonderful platforms, have made acquisitions truly easy, right? So my first job at Google was to convince small businesses about the power of the internet and get them to advertise on Google, right? I remember talking to small businesses in the UK and saying, hey, you can get customers from anywhere in the world, right? And they were like, really? How does that happen? And it might, like, when you talk to marketers now, they're like, what's the big deal? But that's a true revolution. And in many ways, the reason it gets all of the limelight is very effective. And to be honest, most marketers are going with the easy way. It's like, as there used to be a saying that nobody fired you for buying IBM. Nobody's going to kind of fire you for assigning a budget to big ad platforms. It is effective, and I do think it has a very important part to play. But I think it's like, in the future, I do believe with the current advances in technology and AI, especially with the rich data that most large customers, large enterprises have, you should be able to do a better job in understanding your customers and building a relationship with them.
Fantastic. Looking at your website here, you've seen an 84% lift in customer lifetime value through your platform. That's pretty impressive. How did you get a result like that?
So you raised an important point at the beginning, right? Like, there's so much hype about AI, etc. One of the difficult decisions we took is that if you think about the AI spectrum, right? So generally, there is a lot of focus on let's say cost reduction, and I would say resource replacement. What I feel is equally important, and where the real value is if we can impact the top line. So a lot of what we focused on with the work that we did with our agents was to drive business impact, right? So in this particular scenario, we are talking about a very large consumer-to-consumer marketplace, where we work with them to drive cross-category purchase. If you're a large marketplace, it's a consumer-to-consumer marketplace. So typically, if I come there and I buy fashion, then typically I continue to buy fashion. If I can get a user who is repeat user on fashion to then do electronics, there's a huge upsurge in the lifetime value. So what we did is across their product experience at the right time, at the right moment, show and determine what is the right subcategories or categories that you can cross-sell to, and prompt those products along with the targeted promotion, so that the likelihood of them buying that at that point in time increases massively. And that's how they were able to get that uplift.
Fantastic. What a great story. You're also helping customers make better day-to-day decisions based on all that juicy data that you have. How does that work? How does it look like on a day-to-day basis?
I talked about the core agent that we have, which is the decision agent. One of the things that we realized, and it also is borne out by my frustration as a marketer, is that you would often put out campaigns, you would often put out ideas out there, and then you would run it, and then you need to spend weeks, if not months, either working with a data scientist or analyst, or spending endless hours on Excel. And wouldn't be great, we thought wouldn't be great if there is an agent that can understand all of the data, understand all of the decisions that the decision agent took, and then if the marketer can use natural language to query that, and give him further insights or her further insights, wouldn't be great. And that was the genesis. That's another agent which is very effective and which a lot of our customers use. And the idea there, as I mentioned at the beginning, is our belief is that the marketers of the future will have this marketer-agent interaction paradigm, and it needs to be a virtuous circle. It needs to be a loop wherein the agent suggests something, marketer takes a strategic decision based on that, takes an action, then you have a new insight, the marketer actions, and that's what the analyst agent does on a continuous basis.
Fantastic. What a groundbreaking concept. So you just closed a $23.5 million round. Congratulations.
Thank
on
you.
that. What are you focused on next with that funding?
I think the innovation in our space is truly mind-boggling. I was lucky enough to be part of the, I would say, the internet revolution during the early days of my career, the mobile and then the cloud related transitions that happened as well. But what we are seeing unfolding before us is happening at a pace that is unprecedented. So a lot of our focus remains the same. How do you kind of truly develop innovative products that can help marketers achieve their goals? Most of our team's time is focused on that aspect, which is helping our customers succeed and developing more products in that direction.
Fantastic. And the amazing thing is we're just getting started, early days, I think, for Agentic AI. How do you see things unfolding over the next year or two with all this investment and innovation? What will the world look like?
You're absolutely right. Early days, people often talk about cloud, and if you think about the transition to cloud started somewhere in the early 2010s, and even now, I think less than 30% of the enterprise workloads have moved to cloud. Right. So I often tell my team that for those of us who can remember, we are still in the 1995 Yahoo web pages age of AI, right? Like, so still a long way to go. I think the aspects that we are excited by the improvements in the reasoning capabilities of foundation models and the pace at which that is improving, and how application layer companies that build on top of that can truly leverage that. I'm also equally excited about marketers and in general all businesses using leveraging AI products, moving beyond what I would call this tendency to just do pilots to really focus on AI products that move revenue and have business impact, right? So I think we are only starting, and we are already seeing many enterprises now evaluating products with that dimension. I think it's a welcome change, right? So which is like, what is the real business impact? How will it change my revenue, my top line, right? So and how can I measure that rather than, hey, it'll make this process slightly easier or slightly better.
Yeah, well said. Well, thanks for sharing the insights, and congratulations on the success so far. Much more to do. Onwards and upwards.
Thank you, Evan. It was a pleasure talking to you. I believe that that we are just getting started, and I'm truly excited about how the work we do will help marketers move from the manual, repetitive tasks they do to become super marketers and do more strategic work.
Well, that's here. I would second that, and thanks so much for sharing the vision, and thanks everyone for listening and watching, sharing this episode. Also, check out our companion TV show on Bloomberg and Fox Business at techimpact.tv. Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Evan.
Bye-bye.